And retired, has over 26 years of distinguished naval service, beginning with his commission on as an engineering duty officer. After serving aboard the USS Brumby DE 1044 as main propulsion assistant, and a brief period at Charleston Naval Shipyard, Capt. Haberlandt reported to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where he received a Master of Science in Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering and a degree in Ocean Engineering. Following graduate school, Capt. Haberlandt's assignments included Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, Charleston Naval Shipyard, USS James K. Polk, SSBN 645 Blue Crew. He then reported to the Supervisor of Shipbuilding, Conversion and Repair, United States Navy, a liaison command between the Department of the Navy and Electric Boat Corporation, engaged in the design and construction of new nuclear-powered submarines, as well as repair and modernization of the submarines in the fleet. This was followed by tours at the Naval Submarine Support Facility in New London, Naval Seas System Command at Washington, D.C. After a tour as the commander of Pearl Harbor Naval Shipyard, Captain Haberlandt retired from active duty. Since his retirement, Captain Haberlandt has been employed by the Electric Boat Corporation in Groton, Connecticut, and is a trustee of the USS L.Y. Spear Foundation, the L.Y. Spear Foundation. Please welcome Captain Frederick Haberlandt.
I'll give it a try. Thank you, Leon, and Patty, I would like to thank you for scheduling me after that group. That's a heck of a place to be in the lineup in the batting order, so, but we'll do our best. When Patty first approached me about getting an L.Y. Spear Foundation representative to speak, you wanted us to talk about the foundation. That would take about 90 seconds. And I'll tell you about the foundation in a little bit, but she also mentioned a few other things that perhaps subjects to talk about: submarines, women on submarines, and whatnot. So I've put a few things together. And this is not a speech. This is interactive. If you've got questions, please raise your hand, pipe up. Glad to have the conversation. I'm a maintenance kind of guy. I'm not an operational ship driver. I am not on active duty any longer. But so I don't want to pretend that I'm an expert on these subjects. But glad to try to take questions, and we certainly have a conversation. I'd like to start with talking about L.Y. Spear himself. And frankly, you folks, based on the things that you've done, probably know as much as I'm going to tell you. But L.Y. Spear was born in 1870. 1870. He was commissioned from Annapolis in 1890, so 20 years old. He served in cruisers initially. He studied marine engineering in Glasgow University, and he also had a degree, a postgraduate degree from Naval Postgraduate School. So throughout his period of active duty, he was performing work as a naval constructor. That was a term way back then, which is our term today for it would be an engineering duty officer. Those are the people that are the repair officers on our tenders and IMAs. And I was trying to find somebody, a repair officer on Spear that I may have known from the mid to late 80s or early 90s, which is when I was repair officer at NSSF. But he was one of the early constructors. He resigned from the Navy in 1902, and he began a 48-year career with Electric Boat Corporation, 1902. And he served with Electric Boat, worked for Electric Boat until 1947. So here's a guy that started in 1902 to 1947. His career spanned 2 world wars. And as I'm reading his biography and whatnot to prepare my remarks tonight, I'm thinking, that's pretty amazing. Because when he started, while he was still on active duty, he was sent to a shipyard in New Jersey, where they were building the first submarines for the Navy, the first 5 submarines based on Holland's design. But you look at his career, and certainly during those world wars, the design, the manufacture of submarines was going gangbusters, but I suspected as I sat back and thought about it, maybe his greatest achievement was taking a company like Electric Boat that built war machines and kept them functional from the period between World War I and World War II, when there was no demand and things slacked off, but to keep that company viable and then able to ramp it up to do what it did during World War II is really an amazing accomplishment as part of that management team. So from about 1947 until 1950, when he passed away, he was basically the chairman of the board for what is effectively General Dynamics right now. But during his career, he was part of the process that delivered 200 submarines to our Navy of 25 different designs and 100 submarines for foreign sales. 300 submarines, 25 different designs. We're building one submarine a year right now of one design, that's the Virginia. Now, in fairness, things are going pretty well and we're ramping up to 2 a year, and we've got the Ohio replacement program coming down the road. But his life really is the history of L.Y. Spear, is really the history of the submarine program of this country and of Electric Boat itself. Electric Boat started in 1899, and as I recall, there was a song that was just sung that was from 1899. But he's really a remarkable person, and I don't know, did everybody drive by the Spear House yesterday, or just some of you?
Not everybody, whoever did the tour yesterday.
Okay. Well, one of the things that he was committed to, obviously, was the improvement of the technology of the submarine, but also he was committed to safety and the habitability, and frankly, of the people and the sailors and the men that operate those ships. And it was, from my notes, the 5th of May, 1966, that the Navy honored him with naming the L.Y. Spear after him. And you said, Patty, that the christening was when? In 67?
Yes, September
67. So he was a remarkable guy. Now, the L.Y. Spear Foundation, on the 19th of April, 1938, he wrote a letter to, L.Y. Spear wrote a letter, Lawrence York Spear, L.Y. Spear, wrote a letter to the Secretary of the Navy, and I'm just going to read it, it's very short. It says, "I am motivated in setting up a trust for purely personal reasons by the fact that I am a graduate, I am a United States Naval Academy graduate, and since resignation from the service, I have devoted my time and energy almost entirely to the development of the submarine. Since the establishment of the submarine school, I have been privileged to observe its efficient operation, and it is my thought that the provision of prizes may serve as an incentive to the best efforts of all student officers. Since that time, the Foundation has awarded a certificate and a watch to the honor graduate of each submarine officer basic class. And in the 70s, that was extended to the honor graduate of the submarine officer advanced course. Together, that's about 11 or 12 classes a year. And excuse me, there are 7 trustees, of which I'm one. The foundation's sole purpose is to manage the funds, the funds that L.Y. Spear put in place back in the late 30s and early 40s, and present the watch to that honor graduate at each of those classes. It's a treat to go do that, and I think some or all of you perhaps attended the enlisted graduation, and you know how extraordinarily talented those young men are. And in the officer graduations, it is now men and women. So it's a really unique experience. And I will tell you that in 1984, I was an engineering duty officer, so I wasn't a ship driver. I didn't go into the basic class and then go off and drive ships. I was the guys that worked with the folks that designed, built them, maintained them. And I went through the engineering duty officer option program, in which you go to basic sub school, you do a patrol, you do a notebook, get qualified, but again, focused on design and construction. But in basic submarine school, When I left Charleston Naval Shipyard in 1984 to go up, my shipyard commander called me in and he said, "Hey, congratulations, go up there, work hard, I expect you to come back with the watch." I didn't know what he was talking about. Well, when you checked in, they told you, you work hard, the honor graduate gets the watch. And as I tell the students when I present it, I left with the Timex that I rode in with. I was a lieutenant commander. This is in the basic course. I was a lieutenant commander. I had 3 years of MIT, 2 graduate level degrees. I was pretty smart. I had a lot of experience, frankly, in the shipyard with submarines. And I worked my buns off, and I was 3rd in the class behind 2 young Lieutenant JGs, to give you what for me was really drove home the point of how extraordinarily talented the young men and women now are that man those ships. So really a special group of people. The future of the submarine force, one of the things, Patty, you'd mentioned perhaps talking about, and again, I'd just like to reinforce the fact that I'm a maintainer. I'm not a driver. I'm certainly not somebody that is an expert on defense policy, and I don't want to stand up here and suggest that I am. But I have to tell you, working at EB, you tend to stay in touch with what's going on in the submarine business and the people that drive these ships and take them to sea. And it's a pretty good time. We've got the SSGNs, guided missile conversions. Took the first 4 Ohio-class boomers, converted them to guided missile submarines. And some of those forward tubes are used for other things with the special operations fellows. But I think you probably remember USS Florida that launched a whole bunch of missiles into Libya during the crisis. So those ships are extraordinarily capable. As we've made the decision as a country to reduce the number of ballistic missiles at sea, we had those 4 ships and were able to convert them. Very cost-effective approach to go turn them into a totally new and turns out a very, very valuable mission. The Virginia-class attack submarine program. Electric Boat and Newport News build those submarines together. Each company builds a certain section of them. And the ships that Electric Boat puts together and delivers, takes to sea and tests, the pieces that are made by Newport News, or the sections, whole sections I should say, from Newport News come up on a barge to Electric Boat, and likewise the pieces of the ship that EB builds that go to Newport News, they assemble them, and every other year Electric Boat builds a submarine, every other year Electric Boat delivers a submarine. Turns out it's the odd year, number of years, and Newport News delivers a Virginia-class submarine in the even years. The Virginia-class program is delivering submarines ahead of schedule and under budget. That's a pretty remarkable thing in a time when defense programs get lambasted for their overruns and poor performance. It's that performance that enabled us collectively, this country, our Navy, the shipbuilders, to get 2 submarines authorized a year in 2011. So authorized in 11, but I think they're in about 2015 or 16, that the first of those 2 a year will get delivered, and at that point EB and Newport News will be delivering 1 submarine a year. Now there's some things going on with the budget. I think a 2014 submarine, one that there were to be 2 in 14, they've been moved to 19 just because of the budget situation. But still a pretty good performance. I don't know if you've heard the term pivot to the Pacific. Basically, it's an alignment or realignment of our forces and our focus to the Pacific as things have wound down to the east. The look is to the west, toward China, toward North Korea, and the submarine offers extraordinary capability, essentially unlimited duration and range. And so I would say the submarine, in terms of, in the context of what's the future of the submarine program like, I'd say it's pretty bright. The submarine is an ideal vehicle platform for operations out there in the Pacific. And to paraphrase Rear Admiral Dave Johnson, who's a program executive officer for submarines, and his predecessor, Admiral Hilardes, Willie Hilardes, it's a good time to be in the submarine business. We're delivering submarines, and frankly, there's a need for it. Women aboard submarines. Okay. I'll tread on this one gently. No, actually, kidding aside, the reality is that the Navy is, in the submarine community, is affording itself access to the best and the brightest. And by not having women, the ability to put women on board submarines, frankly, we're not gaining access to some of the more capable, most capable people in the talent pool. Last summer was the first graduating class from the basic submarine officer course in which women were attending. These are women that were going onto submarines as part of their career path. There have been engineering duty officer women that have been going through the basic class. They go do a patrol like I did, they get qualified and they go work in shipyards, but these are women that are going aboard ship. One of them didn't leave with a Timex. They won the L.Y. Spear Award in that first class. And Admiral Green at the CNO just a week or two ago made the comment, excuse me, the women that are currently have gone through sub school are on the SSBNs and the SSGNs, the large boats, lots of room. But Admiral Greenert said, looking downstream about next year, we're going to start seeing women officers coming through sub school and going to the attack submarines, to the Virginians. So the future is bright for women in submarining as a career path. Tenders. Patty, one of the comments you made in an email that we exchanged suggested that you didn't think or weren't aware that there were tenders still out there. There are. There are still two tenders, the Frank Cable and the Emory S. Land. Frank Cable is stationed in Guam, the AS-40, stationed in Guam. In fact, she just got back to Guam the 30th or 31st of July after a 6-month or so overhaul on the West Coast. The Emory S. Land has been stationed, we call it home ported, but she's been stationed in Diego Garcia. The profile of use for those ships is Cable is stationed in Guam, home ported in Guam. They augmented her repair department by about 150 people. So she's got a repair department of about 850 people, and Emory S. Land is parked in Guam. Excuse me, is parked in Diego Garcia. When there are availabilities out in the Indian Ocean in Diego Garcia, the Cable flies a repair contingent out there. They do the availabilities. They come back. So there's not a staffed repair department on the Emory S. Land in Diego Garcia. So that's the way it's working right now. And actually, Land is still in Guam. I think she's going to get an availability there in Guam. And although I don't know it for a fact, I certainly expect she's going to go back out there. One of the differences, we were talking at the table a little while ago, the tenders now are operated. Chip's company is Military Sea Lift Command. So you got civilians running the ship, if you will, the business of the ship. I think they've got a military, probably communications contingent and whatnot. The repair department, however, as I described it, Cable flying to Diego Garcia for the Land, is still active duty military. So still very much a presence. The tenders are in use, and if you take a look at the shipbuilding plan for the Navy, you'll find it out in fiscal year 23 and 25 are scheduled to start two replacement tenders. So I'm guessing that probably puts Cable and Land at the 40 or 50-ish year point in their lives. So I would say that the tenders are going to still be out there, just going to be a couple of them. But if you look at the Pacific, and you wouldn't probably be building major repair facilities in places like Japan or Taiwan, or even the Philippines, maybe anything much closer than Guam, because you're kind of close to the guys that might be shooting at you. So if you assume that Hawaii, certainly Hawaii, Pearl Harbor Naval Shipyard, my alma mater, it is going to be there for a long time, and Guam quite likely is going to build up a little more. They have 3, by the way, home-ported submarines there now. You may or may not have known that. In the last few years, they put 3 boats out there, and there's some speculation that they may put more, but we'll see. The budget situation in the country is difficult, challenging, and all of the adjustments in force structure and resources that have been contemplated and might be smart cost a lot of money. So we'll see where the Navy goes, but I certainly see in the Pacific that the role of the submarine is rock solid, and certainly would seem like the role of the submarine tender is going to be there for quite some time. So that's what I had for you. You had a good meal, probably a couple adult beverages, and what I didn't want to do is put you to sleep. So if you have any questions, I would be glad to try to take them, or be glad to chat with you out on the floor here one-on-one if you care to. Leon.
Is there anything unique about the LY Spear watch?
Other than it's engraved, what we do is we basically give the student a $250 or $350 credit, $350 in the case of the advanced course, and they go down to the jewelers, and they can pick out the watch they want, and it's engraved with their name and whatnot from their graduation and their graduating class. I will tell you that Rear Admiral Millard Firebaugh used to work at EB, and he's the gentleman that hired me into Electric Boat in 1998, and he was a trustee of the foundation. He would get excited and energized because the guys would come back with Seiko watches. What the hell are we doing? We're giving Japanese ones. So I mean, it was yes, boss. Yes, it's their choice. So, but that's how it works. The graduates, and if they want to, they can go choose a $10,000 Rolex, but they're only getting $250 to $350 from us. But that's how it works. That's how it works. Any other questions? Okay, well, thanks very much. Patty, one thing I learned probably you already knew, you don't tell Patty no. Come do this, so I'm honored to have had the opportunity to come up and speak to you. And I salute all of you for keeping your association alive. And as Leon was telling me, the problem you've got is you're still too young. Some of it, when the ship went out of commission, some of those young sailors are still on active duty. But I'd encourage you to reach out to them and keep having fun. You guys have got a great group going here, so I salute you. It was a treat to be here tonight. Thanks very much.
Thank you.